Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In today's video, we're gonna have a little fun and talk about what could have changed in Luffy's life if he had had the power of the Sun God at the Battle of Marineford. During the Battle of Marineford, we saw many important characters losing their lives because of this immensely powerful conflict that occurred, and Luffy during that time could do almost nothing to save his allies because he just wasn't strong enough at that time. But currently, Luffy is extremely powerful, possessing the strength level of a Yonko, or perhaps even higher. But what would have happened if Luffy had had that same strength in the past? What could he have done during the Battle of the Best? So in today's video, we're going to talk about everything that Luffy could have avoided if he had had the strength that he currently possesses during past events, during the confrontation in which someone very important to Luffy lost their life. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, we'd be absolutely honored if you consider leaving us a like, or even subscribing and maybe leave a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help us out in a bigger way, consider sharing the video or the channel with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So friends, during the battle that took place in Marineford, many pirates and marines lost their lives. But the side that lost the most people sentimentally important to them were the pirates, because Whitebeard and Ace both lost their lives during this epic battle. But if Luffy had had the power of the Sun God Nika awaken when this event occurred, it would have played out very differently, and many characters would still be alive, and there would be no way to prevent them from losing their lives, because he could have saved countless people. Starting with the main focus and reason for this fight, which was Ace. At the beginning of this fight, Luffy already tried to go right for him to save it, but with the three admirals, the fleet admiral, and Garp, they were all very close in protecting Ace. But in the original battle, Luffy would have had no chance of getting close to Ace, even though he was really quite strong at the time. But he instead had to stay back and first attack the marines that were in the area to reduce the amount of them so that Whitebeard's troops could get through. Once he managed to defeat enough enemies and gain some space over the arena, the admirals and the warlords began to act because the pirates would be getting closer and closer to them. Luffy continued to face enemies that were closing in and was trying to get through them at all costs. And as Luffy's advanced, the Whitebeard pirates would also advance, allowing them to continue facing more and more powerful enemies as they went further into the battlefield. Because Luffy and Whitebeard presented the greatest danger within this combat, they would have been the main focus of the admirals, especially Luffy, who would have been in the front line trying to advance and rally the troops. Many enemies tried to confront Luffy, but his allies were able to intercept these enemies and attack them, so that Luffy could get closer and closer to Ace. As Luffy was able to advance, and the closer he got, the more likely the admirals would attack him. And during the Battle of Marineford, Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu fought with Whitebeard to stop him because they knew that the real danger at that moment was Edward Newgate. But if Luffy had really presented an even greater danger than Whitebeard, he would have been the main focus. And in the original battle, we see that some of Whitebeard's pirates managed to help him advance during the fight. We saw Marco step in and manage to withstand all the blows that Kizaru had thrown at Whitebeard, and immediately kick Kizaru to the ground, while Jozu was fighting Aokiji. This allowed their father to move forward, and the same would have happened to Luffy if he was trying to go towards Ace. The Whitebeard pirates would help Luffy get to the place where his brother was, leaving only Luffy to a deal with Akainu. However, as Whitebeard would be in this fight as well, he could deal with Akainu while Luffy advances, or Luffy could have fought Akainu, since with his awakening, Luffy now has great stamina and immensely powerful haki. However, we still don't know if he's resistant to lava. During this Wano arc, we did see that Luffy was able to withstand several bursts of fire because of his rubber body, but when he gets close to high temperatures, he does feel the burn on his skin. This could mean that even though his body is much more fortified, he still would feel and suffer pain from Akainu's lava attacks. And even though his technique of turning in the ground is into rubber to reflect his enemy's attacks, this may not work against lava, because lava as an element has the ability to perforate everything, even rubber, which is a component that doesn't have much resistance at high temperatures. Thus, most of Luffy's techniques might be useless against Akainu, and this would make for a very interesting fight, but it would be very likely that Luffy could still beat Akainu if he had his current power, since Luffy has a great evolution during these years, and we don't know Akainu's true level in relation to the power of a Yonko, because even though Whitebeard was not in his prime, he was still able to tank several strikes from Akainu, blows in which he bled a lot because of his advanced age and the injuries he'd already suffered, but he still did hold his own against Akainu, and Akainu did not have enough reflexes to be able to dodge Whitebeard's attacks. And so for this reason, he gradually ended up taking more and more lava blows that pierced his body and left him even more weakened. And in Whitebeard's condition, it was very likely that he didn't have the same power as the other Yonko Yonkos did at that time. Nevertheless, Whitebeard stood his ground in this fight and took all the hits because he wanted to save his son Ace. So even though he was sick and being just hurt all the time, he would not back down. But coming back to our Wano arc, Kaido was much stronger and tougher than Whitebeard was. So with Gear 5th, Luffy would have been able to overcome the strength that Whitebeard used during the Battle of Marineford, because Luffy was able to defeat Kaido, who is very much still in his prime. On top of that, even though Luffy had obtained a great increase of power because of Gear 5th, he also possessed the training that he had gained during this Wano arc, which allowed him to learn and perfect his haki in every way, taking it to new heights. In this way, Luffy would have been able to fight Akainu and overcome him using only his haki abilities, which would allow Luffy to defeat Akainu in the state he was at Marineford. Once he defeated Akainu, Luffy would still have to go through Sengoku and Garp, something that would be quite difficult to do because these two sailors, when they fight seriously, it's something to behold. Garp is, after all, one of the strongest Marines and possesses the highest level of haki, and in his prime was able to take on Roger several times to a stalemate. It's been said many times that both of them had an evenly matched level of strength, and in most fights, they pretty much got close to both of them losing their lives. So even though Garp is older, his body is maybe not in the same shape, he can still face Luffy with the help of Sengoku, who is also a very powerful fleet admiral. Sengoku, for his part, possesses great physical strength, and with his Buddha Buddha fruit, managed to increase his size, allowing him to deliver immensely powerful blows to his opponents. Now, Luffy only managed to defeat Garp during the Battle of Marineford because Garp allowed Luffy to knock him off the catwalk, and initially he intended to fight Luffy, but as he looked at his grandson with such determination in his eyes, he began to remember his past. He remembered the happy times where he and Luffy and Ace had spent time together. And even though this wasn't Garp's wish, by marine law, Ace had to lose his life. So he allowed Luffy to hit him so that Ace might have a chance to live. So in this different state, Garp could again be the first person to confront Luffy with these new powers, and being able to extend all his attacks, but Garp still would have had this great love for Luffy, and at some point, he would have given up his fight again. Garp would not be able to bear to fight Luffy, and much less see Ace lose his life at that moment, which would cause him to find some opportunity to be defeated by Luffy, or at least just taken out of combat. This would then force Luffy to fight Sengoku, which would be a much more balanced fight because it would be a one-on-one fight. Now, we don't know the power level of Sengoku for sure, because we've seen him fighting very little, but with Luffy's powers and his ability to support Whitebeard could then interfere in this fight and take Luffy's place so that he could save Ace while he distracts the Fleet Admiral's attention, and this would allow everyone to escape. But there's still a big problem we haven't talked about. Teach was in Marineford waiting for New Cape to become weak, and the warlords were still fighting the Whitebeard pirates. Some of these warlords could present a problem for Luffy, such as Mihawk and Doflamingo, not only because they're both powerful, but they also have the ability to cut, which is a very good attribute against Rubber, because no matter Luffy's defense, these two characters would get the cut. And even if they managed to save Ace, it's still very likely that Whitebeard might have lost his life during the fight. While Luffy was saving Ace, Whitebeard would have stayed to face the other powerful enemies to keep them busy. And then, even with all of this, he still would have sustained major wounds that would have left him physically weakened. And with Teach's arrival in this fight, things would have turned in the favor of the Marines, and he would have used the warlords to support him in defeating Whitebeard's pirates. And for having already completed his mission to rescue Ace, Whitebeard would have sent his sons back to the boat and ordered them to leave so that he could stay to keep all of the enemies from catching up and following. But of course, none of the Whitebeard pirates would have obeyed their father because they would have wanted to fight at his side until the very end, which would cause more lives to be lost in this fight, lives that not even Luffy could have prevented from being lost. The battle would have only ended after Whitebeard and several other people present lost their lives, and also probably wouldn't have stopped even unless there was the arrival of Shanks, who was already on his way there after intercepting Kaido, who was also intent on going to Marineford to fight Whitebeard. So just as in the original Battle of the Best, the one who would have ended the battle would have been Shanks, because if they didn't give up, he himself would have been their new opponent, which would have caused many more pirates and Marines to lose their lives, and therefore everyone gave up the battle. So even though Luffy is much more powerful now, he still wouldn't have been able to stop all the lives from being lost. He could have definitely saved Ace's life, allowing his brother to see his evolution and eventually see him become king of the pirates. But the lives of Whitebeard and many other pirates, those would have been things that Luffy wouldn't have been able able to save. And with that, Ace could have ended up entering the battle for revenge and again putting himself in further danger. So in the end, although Luffy could have changed the events, the overall loss of life probably couldn't have been avoided. But what do you think about it? Do you think Luffy could have saved everyone? How else could Luffy's new powers have kind of played out in the Battle of Marineford in this Battle of the Best? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And so friends, as we wrap up our video, I want to thank you all so much for watching all the way up to the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like or maybe hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.